percent of the city can actually stay static.
Okay, well, actually, thank you. Again, thank you for coming and thanks for those clarifications. My neighbor just covered a lot of the points I was going to bring up, but I'm going to dovetail from what you just said. So now maybe we can talk about Laird specifically, and even just right here on South Vale, where we're looking at buildings that are going to be, you know, I think here it's 8 stories, and over there it's 9 or 11 or something like that. So again, we're not even in the mid-rise category, and we're no longer on that large corridor. So the vision that you had, and I've read the official plan a number of times being on the development committee of this area of Ward 26, is that, you know, it does say predominantly mid-rise. It has a great vision. You got great graphics. But when I plotted, and I have it, I'll give you a document, all of those, a projection of those buildings, the ones that have made an application so far, what we're starting to see has absolutely nothing to do with the vision that you had, which I shared. So I give you food for thought, because Leaside has a major program, development plan that looks right into the backyards of the houses, like right in. And there's another one right here. And that's in the heart of Leaside. It's not even on Eglinton.
It's not in the focus area, is what you're saying. So I look forward to seeing your map.
Hi, my name is Dan Buckley, and now I may seem to be going off track, but now that we have the audience here, I'm sure you're aware that there is a proposition to draw new boundary lines, and 4 of the proposed new driving boundary lines cut Leaside into separate north and south Leaside. And this, I mean, this is more devastating than anything we'd be talking about. I know it's not your initiative, but I was hoping that perhaps you would lend an opinion that you would be in favor of preserving Leaside as a whole.
Dr. Buckley, we can talk about that later. Okay. It's absolutely an important issue, but unfortunately, Jennifer Giesbach has to leave within probably about half an hour. So if we can keep it to planning issues, we can come back to that later, okay? Thanks.
Okay. My name is Alan McCartney. I have one question, but Jennifer, I did send you an email with 4 questions, each of which has a rationale. The one question I want to give you, I'll make a brief statement. It related to what I perceived when you said quality transit. So one sentence, then the question. The current subway system is inadequate to transport the expected increase in riders resulting from the continual redevelopment. The question. Will you mandate a program whereby additions to the Underground Railway for completion are essential within 1 year, and subsequent obligatory additions will occur in a periodic time frame of 1 year, hence in perpetuity? And if I get some time, I'd like to show you a map of the transit system in Unit. It is light years ahead of Toronto.
The good news is we advocate for transit all the time. The bad news is that transit is wildly underfunded in our city, and we have struggled, I would argue, as a city to follow a due diligence process that leads to investing in transit in the ways that we should. So what we've been doing in the city planning department is we've initiated a program, if you will, called Feeling Congested, that was linked to a review of our official plan policies, whereby we created 8 evaluative criteria to assist us in making recommendations for council based on a due diligence process. We've been using that as our frame of reference for all the recommendations that we make to City Council, but City Council ultimately makes those decisions and decides. That's not something that's in our hands.
Refer to my question number 2, and that would be a solution I suggest.
Hi, thank you again for coming. My name is Glenn, I live in the area. Quick question, is lighting of our streets under your control, and the reduction of light on our streets currently, which I, and I think a lot of my neighbors I've spoken to, are finding quite unsafe and resulting in a greater risk of pedestrian strikes with vehicles? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. It's interesting because we just had a negotiation with Toronto Hydro around pedestrian lighting in some of our large redevelopment areas, like Regent Park and Lawrence Allen. But in fact, it is Toronto Hydro that is responsible for that. And currently, they're actually, it's quite shocking, it's highway lighting, it's not pedestrian lighting. The lighting is actually roadway lighting. It's not designed to light the sidewalks as much as to light the roads in most areas. So this is something that I've been speaking to my colleagues at Toronto Hydro with. It's not our jurisdiction, but of course it's a critical interest of the city to ensure that we have pedestrian lighting. I share your concern. I actually think it's a very, very serious concern in our city.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Linda. I'm also in the neighborhood. And I just want to make a comment on your surprise at the few people who were involved in Eglinton Connects. Just that comment is that many people in this neighborhood work full-time, and those meetings and those consultations were during the day, and people could not participate in many of those events. I know that many of the consultations were during the day.
Just to clarify, there were just as many that were in the evenings because we're in fact very sensitive to that. I know I attended all the evening ones because I was down at City Hall during the day. So I
we
know
have
that,
families, so we can't spend a lot of our evening time.
Of course.
And we've been working full-time
Of
at
course.
the consultations. It's very difficult.
it's a real challenge, and one of the things that I didn't talk about with respect to growing conversations that we're doing is moving more into web-based and using web-based tools for inputs for two reasons. One is that younger demographic is more likely to participate in consultations that happen online, but also for the reason that you outlined. It's difficult for a lot of people to get out and meet to a meeting and participate in the evening after work, particularly if they have small children.
So my question is this. 64% of OMB decisions are in favor of developers. And words like language, policies, shaping, guidelines, tools are really meaningless. Taxpayers' money is spent on reports, consultations, expert planners, but there is no legislation. So many of these ideas, and they're very good ones, the plans are really excellent, the planners are very skilled, but many of these things are not implemented because there's no weight to it. So I want to know what your strategy is as an advocate to change the percentage of OMB decisions that are in favor of residents rather than developers, and residents who agree with the plans that have been put forward by the planning department.
Thank you. So an important question and something that I struggle with a lot. Just to go back for a minute though, 64% are lost, but only 4% of our projects actually end up at the OMB. So just to put that number in perspective, only 4% of projects are appealed at the OMB, which is very important. And that doesn't mean it's not significant, because often they are significant projects that have some kind of precedent-setting implication. But just to put that number in a little bit of perspective. The last time that I was here and spoke to this group, I talked a lot about the development permit system, which is something that we've been able to very aggressively advance at City Hall. One of the last things that the last City Council did was in fact approve our official plan amendments to enable the use of the development permit system in our approvals process, and Brendan can speak to this more specifically. We are right now, of course, at the OMB because the development industry is contesting the development permit system, in part because it is such a good, strong regulatory tool. In fact, heritage conservation districts and development permit systems are the strongest tools that we have. So I'm very hopeful that we're doing all the work that we need to do right now to be bringing forward the development permit system, which will allow us to create development permit bylaws. Once we put those bylaws in place, they give us the regulatory teeth that we currently lack. And I'm very confident that when we begin implementing them, it's going to have a transformative impact on shaping growth in the city. And one of the first areas that we'll look at doing so is at Yonge and Eglinton.
This is all well and good, but timing is a very important factor as well. And these developments are coming on right away. So that's going to be very nice for the future developments and future plans, but not so great for what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating.